Hello everyone, in this video we'll be talking about file signature and metadata analysis. So we will look into what a file signature is and how any suspect can use file signature in order to hide a file or in order to deceive the forensic investigator in thinking or changing the type of the file. So first of all, I just need you guys to take a couple of seconds and look at the different types of the files that we have here. If you can see here, we have this Grand Rapids file, and the icon that the window is showing for this file is PDF. And you can see that here as well, that it is Microsoft Edge PDF file. So you can open the file with Microsoft Edge. Similarly, GVSU is another file, which is like an Office file, a document file. And lastly, the lab2 is a JPG file, which indicates that it's an image file. So if you are investigating some case and you see these different type of files, so your first impression would be that these files are actually the files that we see. For example, this lab2 is a JPG file or an image file. Similarly, this Grand Rapids is a Microsoft like a PDF file. But what can happen is sometimes like these files or these extensions that you see here or the types that you see here, they are deceiving and they can be changed or manipulated by the user. So to understand that, we have to understand a file signature. So what is a file signature? A file signature is a string in a file that is used to identify the format of the file. It is also, you can call it a magic number. So generally, like the first 2 or 4 bytes of a file at the very beginning, it's generally placed in the beginning. Those 2 or 4 bytes, they represent the type of the file. So for example, Microsoft Word has another set of 2 or 4 bytes, say like by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 5, 6, 5, 6, or something like that, that indicates the type of the file within the data. So there is no like standard format for that, but these things are like, there is no authority that says this file signature is for this particular file. But over the time there we have like, concluded or converged, and we have now some files signatures that are standard among different type of files. So here's an example. So all the JPEG files or the images, JPG files that are generally the images files, you will see a file signature of FF, DB, FF, and E0. So 4 byte file signature will be at the beginning of every file that is JPEG file. And if you open this JPEG file into any hex editor, such as, WinHex, Notepad+, or any other hex editor, you can see that the first 4 bytes of that file, no matter what is inside the file, whether it's the, like an image of a rocket or an image of a park or whatever the data is, this file signature will be there in the beginning of every JPEG file or JPG file. Similarly, all the PDF files, they have a file signature of 25504446. So the first 4 bytes of all the PDF files, no matter what the data is inside it, no matter about, what the other metadata is, they will have these 4 bytes in the beginning, and you can observe them as well when you look at the file signature by opening this file in a hex editor. So here are some other examples. So the PDF, we already discussed its file signatures. JPEG, we already discussed its file signature. So MS Word, they have DBA5 to D00. Similarly, all the .exe file, the executable files, your programs, they have the file signature of 4D54. So all the executable files, they will have the signature. DLL files, window files, they have 4D5A as well, because they are also executable files. So now if you see like any file, no matter whether it's like, it appears to be a document file or a PDF file, but its extension or its file signature is 4D5A, then you can already see, or you can guess that this is an executable file, which is wrongly assigned the extension, or which is wrongly, assigned the type of the PDF file or the JPEG file. If you need to like look further into different file types and their signatures, just go on this link, and it has like a list of different file types, extensions, and their file signatures. So now if you guys just remember the lab2.jpg, which appeared to be like a JPEG file, in our initial analysis, or this like the slide that I showed you, when I open this file in a hex editor like WinHex, its file signature, the first 4 bytes are 504B0304. So these files, this particular file signature, if you go back and look here, it is used to represent the document files or the doc files, right? So that means that this file is clearly marked with a wrong extension, which is .jpg. It's not an image file. In fact, it is a document file. So in this way, like, by manipulating or changing the extension, so the extension of a file, you can change it yourself, like right click on any file in Microsoft Word, and you can change its extension. The Windows will, like, give you a warning that, if you change the extension, it might change the type and so on, but you can do that yourself. So that is an activity that I want you to do at the end of the lecture, like yourself, just change the extension of the files and see how the overall icons and the file types, they will also change once you change the extension. So there are two things that define the type of a file. The first is the file extension, like the .jpeg or .doc or .exe or whatever the extension is. Generally, the name of the file will be like, you will have a name, then dot, and then the extension. And the other thing is the file signature, which is the sequence of bytes that is written inside the file. So those sequence of bytes, they are like, if you open the any file in hex editor, you can see that sequence within at the beginning, or in the middle or somewhere else, but generally it's in the beginning, and you can by looking at that sequence of bytes, you can identify the correct type of file. What happens is, generally, if the file signature and the file extension, both of them match together, when you double click on the file, the Windows or the operating system will just look at the file extension. So in our previous case, where we had a document file labeled as a JPEG or an image file, when we double click it, Windows will consider that file as an image file. Windows registry, there's a registry entry that maps the extensions to different programs. Like if you have JPEG file, which application or which program in the Windows you want to open that file. So it will look into that registry, and it will say that in that registry, you have selected that you want to open the JPEG files or image files using Photos app or any other app that you have installed on Windows, and it will try to open that application using that particular application, that file using that particular application. Now, what will happen is, if the file signature, when that application opens that file, it will start reading the file, and it will first read the signature of the file. Now, if the two things match, like you have apparently a document, a JPEG file or an image file, you opened it with Windows Photo app, the Photo app will see or read the file signature. And if the file signature is actually an image file, or it indicates that it's an image file, the Windows application or the image application will show you that file or the content of that image. Otherwise, it will give you an error that there is a mismatch, or like the file that you are trying to open, its file signature cannot be read properly, and it is not a proper image file. It will give you an error, and you will not be able to see the content. So in general cases, if the file signature and the file extension, they match together, when you double click on a file, you are able to open that file using the Windows application and see the content. But sometimes, like the user, if they have malicious intents, they can just manipulate the file extensions. So you can change the file extension yourself, convert a JPEG file to a doc file, or a doc file to a JPEG file. So you are not actually converting the whole file. You are just like, deceiving the Windows or deceiving the forensic investigator. So you can introduce that mismatch as well. Like just like we did with the lab 2, it was a doc file, but we changed the doc file, change its extension to .jpeg. And as the operating system doesn't, like closely monitor these two things, the operating system just reads the file signature, the file extension, and then goes to Windows registry, see the directories there, and try to see, okay, if I have a JPEG file, which software or which application I can use to open this JPEG file, and then, tells that like software to open this particular file. So there could be mismatch introduced by the user just to deceive the program, or just to deceive the forensic investigators. So how or what are its implication in digital forensics? When you are like investigating a case and you're particularly looking for JPEG files, our first intuition as humans is just to like if the operating systems tells the type of the file as JPEG file, we'll be only interested in those. But we can be deceived by changing the file extensions. So always whenever you are investigating, try to see the file extensions, and if you see like there is a mismatch between the file extension and file signature, that means there has been some tampering done by the user. So similar to changing the extension of a file, you can also change the content. So if you open any file in the hex editor, you can change any of the bytes of the file, including the file signature. So the first 4 bytes that you saw here, if you open this file in hex editor, you can actually change it to something else as well. So you can not only manipulate the extension, you can also manipulate the signature as well, and make a file, like unusable, or make a file just like. So if you manipulate the signature, for example, in this particular file, I change this first 4 bytes to all f's, like ff and so on. So then even though it appears to be a JPEG file, or like neither in that case, neither the Photos app nor the Microsoft Word app will be able to open this file, or you will not be able to read the content of the file, because the signature of the file is something which doesn't exist. So this is another case where the user can not only change the extension, but they can also change the signature of the file as well, and you will have some bad signatures. So what to do in those type of cases? So there are some tools like Incase that can observe the other content of the file. So the file signature is generally first 4 bytes or 2 bytes. So these softwares like Incase, they can check or go through the other content of the file, and try to see if there are some other trends in the bytes or in the data that can indicate the type of the file. And if they see some trends there, they will know whether like maybe this file, like the other content or the other data of the file, looks like that it is a JPEG file, or looks like it is a Microsoft Word file. So generally in JPEG file, you see the first 4 bytes, they are like FFD8, FFE0, and there is also an end of file signature as well. So these are first four in JPEG files. You have the file signature, the first 4 bytes, and then an end of file signature, the last 2 bytes as well. So even in those cases, if you have manipulated the file signature by manipulating the hex content of the file, softwares like Incase, they can look for when they are reading the different bytes and they see the end of file signature for JPEG file, they would identify that there has been a manipulation done on the file signature, and this file is actually a JPEG file. So another important aspect, or another important thing that you can, like look for when you are investigating files, is one thing is like, the extension. We have some other things as well, such as the content of the file. So whenever you are investigating a file, double click on the file, try to open it. And, if it's a JPEG file, try to open it in the Windows image application, or if it's a document file, try to open it with the Windows Microsoft Word. So the idea is when you're investigating a file, look into the actual content of the file. After that, you can also look at the metadata. So what type of metadata we can get from a file? If you just right click on any file in Microsoft Word, go to properties, you will be able to see the file size, the name of the file, the extension of the file, different timestamps such as the creation date, modification date, access time, permissions as well, like which working group or which set of users have the permission to open this particular file, or to make, like modify the file or just access the file. Similarly, in some cases, you can also have the location of the file as well. So what is mean by location? Meant by location, if you open, for example, if you take any picture from your mobile phone generally stores that image in the form of a JPEG file. And the JPEG file, you can see like it also includes the location or the longitude and latitude values as well, where you took that photo. So sometimes for such files like, like files like JPEG file that you took from your camera or mobile phone, they will have location information as well. So this way, like investigate when you're investigating a file, first look into the file extension, then try to, like make sure that there's a match between file extension and file type. then read the content, like see the content of the file. After that, explore the metadata of the file. Look into all the things that I just mentioned, the timestamps, the size of the file, name, permission, location, so on. And sometimes there also can be some hidden data in the file as well. So this hidden data part we'll be learning later on in this course. So you can have alternate data streams, where you can have, multiple data streams. And in alternate data streams, you can hide the data, and as well as you can hide the data using steganography. So both of these things we will learn in detail in the later half of the course. So don't worry as of now. For now, just think of like or keep these things in mind when you are investigating a file. uh, Pay and attention on the extension of the file and the file type. Open these files, look into their contents, look at the metadata, when the file was created, last modified, accessed, and so on. So a couple of discussion questions, I will be posting them on like Blackboard as well. So you can answer them over there as well. The first thing is when you double click on the file, how the operating system organizes the type of the file. It looks into extension. The next thing is how a file is recognized by an application such as a Word or Adobe Reader or something like that. So the applications read the file signature. The OS looks into the extension of the file. So this is a small exercise that I want you guys to do yourself. So just, create or download an image file on your computer, change its extension to doc or PDF, and see like how it changes the file icon, the file type, and other things that you generally see in the operating system or Windows. So the moment you change the file extension, those visuals will also change. And finally, if you have like any questions about this particular topic, please feel free to message me on Blackboard or email me.